Welcome, everyone. Fidencio here with the MLS. So happy to have all you guys here. Today we have a very special vendor, one of my personal favorites. It's Domus Analytics. So we have the brains behind the operation, Amy and Ed joining us here, and they're going to give you guys a rundown of these new features that they've just released. They've been working very hard for you guys. I'm going to get off screen. Amy, why don't you go ahead and take over from here?
Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for joining. Good morning. And thanks for spending the next hour with me here. I apologize for keeping you waiting, but hopefully it will be worth the wait. So Ed is online as well with me today. He'll be answering your questions. So if you have questions, you can pop those in the chat bar and he will get to that. Let me get my screen shared over here for you and we can start going through all of the fun new stuff. So this is live now. I pushed it up yesterday, last night for you. So if you logged on today, it might have looked different and you were like, hey, what is this? This is our version 5.1. So we are really excited. We released version 5 last year and had it out in a couple markets and got a lot of feedback and then went back and added even more stuff. So this is the newest, latest, greatest for you guys. So hopefully you love it. The first thing you might notice is that there are only 4 dashboards here rather than our 5. So that is on purpose, and I think you're really going to like it. But let's start at the beginning. If anybody is new and you haven't used Domus before, we are an online market statistics dashboard provider, and these are all live. They are updated every night with the data that's in your MLS, so you always have access to updates and things that are going on. And if you are in some weird places that are far out without a good internet connection, you will slow down a little bit. Hopefully we won't have any problems here today because none of my kids are home using up my bandwidth. So let's start at the market infographic. This is the simplest dashboard. You read this page across like a book from left to right. I'm just going to click on my logo here and it's going to open it up in a new tab. And this is meant to be our high level. We call it pretty printable and postable. People will share this on social media, and it's really just that what's been going on in the last month, right? Where are we right now? That simple, meant to generate conversation dashboard. Now, it still works like the other one did. You've got that interactivity. You have those, time periods that you can change here. One little change is that you used to be able to switch from the prior month to the same month of the prior year. We've pulled that back a little bit, so it's just that month over month, making that a little simpler. We'd get a lot of questions of, ooh, which one should I use? I'm not sure what dashboard, so we tried to simplify that. And as we go up in the other dashboards, that's where you get that added functionality. But what we did add on this one instead is right below the cities there that you see. Those are all filters for the new folks in the room with an upside down triangle. That means it's a filter. The new thing on here is this monthly drop down, which now has weekly, quarterly, yearly, and year to date. The previous one, you could switch between monthly and quarterly. Now you have all of these time periods that you can pick from. So if I'm dealing with kind of a small area, maybe I want to go to that quarterly and you can see what's been going on. And there's a ton because I've got all my cities by default in here. So maybe I just want to go down and see what happened in the last week. So now you can see what's been going on. And the closed sales last week were more than the week prior. So you have that ability to switch between those time periods now. So that's the big add on this one. You still can print it there on the bottom with my little printing icon. And if you didn't know it before, the printer icons here just invoke whatever printing function is part of the browser that you're using. So I happen to be using one called Brave. This is the printer that it looks like here, and it listens to my instructions. If you're using Safari, that one does not listen to our instructions, so you will probably have to go into the Safari settings and change scale and things in order to get that to fit to a single page. But that's the market infographic. So just really high level, a handful of metrics with that comparison meant to generate conversation, right? It's not meant to answer all the questions. That's what we want people to come to you guys for, to ask those in-depth things so you can show your value. And, you guys have to spend half of your time now proving why they should be working with you. So, okay, fine. We're going to give you a lot more answers than they can get on their own with the smaller, more public versions like this. So that's infographic. All right, back to our portal page here. You've got your market review. This is what we had before as well, but there's been some changes here. It's still that next level of information. It still has a few more metrics than you had on the infographic. You can still print it like down below, and we've got all of those same filters. But again, before you used to switch between monthly and this was yearly. Now you can switch between monthly and just what you saw in the infographic. We can go weekly, we can go quarterly, or we have yearly and year to date. So depending on what you're doing, you've got a ton of options here. Now, when you go down to your yearlies, just like before, you may remember you would lose that information for inventory and month supply because it's a month supply. It's not a year supply. So we just blank that out for you there. But you still have that information there. And it's going to compare on these a 13 period window. So let me go back to monthly and explain that. So on monthly, we have our metric here. Just to the left of that, we have the prior month comparison, and all the way over at the far left, we have the same month of the prior year. And that works out to 13 months, right? Because there's 12 months in a year, but you need to go back to get the same month. So that's 13 months. And because that's 13, we had to carry that forward to all of these different time periods. That's just how the technology works. So when you go on to weekly, for example, this is going to be a 13-week comparison. So this is the prior week, and this is 13 weeks ago. And the same thing will happen for the other ones as well. When I've got quarterly, I have 13 quarters that I go back. And I don't think you actually have 13 years of data in here. So it'll go back to however many we have, which goes back to 2015. So that's how far the data goes back. But that's where we got our time period through our spark lines there. And if you haven't been in my training before, you might not know this is my favorite dashboard. And one of the reasons it's my favorite is because of this horizontal dashed line by the spark lines, right? When I move my mouse over the spark line here, you can see I've got that horizontal line that doesn't go anywhere. That horizontal line is the value of the metric here on the right. And I love it because I don't even have to move my mouse to see where I am today compared to where I've been over all the time periods that I'm looking at. So I can see you are at the lowest number of closed sales, which makes sense because I'm looking at yearly. So of course, we're only 3 months into the year. Let's go back to monthly to do this again. And now I can see that I am not at the lowest for my closed sales for March, but I've been low, and now I'm finally tipping back up a little bit. So this is moving up probably at this rate a little bit faster than it usually moves from February to March. Usually you don't see this kind of increase until we get into April and May. So this is, gosh, I would say this is a good sign for your market, but that's just me. So anyway, this is review again. We love this dashboard. We gave you the additional functionality to change your time periods, and you can still change what months you're looking at. In your cities, we did default to your 8 main cities, but you have a whole bunch of other cities in there. This is true on the infographic as well. I just didn't show it. So you can get all of that data down on here. So let's go into the big one, because this is where most of the changes are. This is where we'll be spending most of today, and that's in our Market Insights dashboard. Excuse me. So version 5, we love version 5, and this one in particular, 5.1. This is the biggest change. This is still the member-only dashboard that has the most information, but we've done a lot to this one. So the first thing that we did is we changed the way that this operates. On the other version, you had some buttons down at the bottom, you had some metrics on the side, you kind of had interaction points all over the page. And now we brought everything up to the top for you. So you're just really clicking around at the top here to get your information to change. And what we brought forward from review and infographic was the ability for you to change the month here. So on the top, you may have already seen that drop down arrow. I can go back in any month and time that I want to do this analysis. So you no longer have to go, whoops, I forgot to go last month and get my, inventory chart. So it'll just look a little bit weird. I'll have to tell people, oh, don't look at the current month. Only look starting back here. You don't have to deal with weird things like that because you can go back to any month and time. We also gave you the ability to change the month you want to compare it to. Previously, you had that month over month and the same month of the prior year. Now you can go back any point you want. So the biggest use case we've gotten for this is, for example, say you have a client who bought their home in August of 2021 and they want to know what the appreciation has been since then. So you can say, well, since August, the homes were about 940 median sales price. That's up 17% from August of 21 until March of 25. So you've got that comparison right there for you. And you can go back as far as the data goes back. It will default to that same month of the prior year. So if I were to refresh my dashboard here, then it's going to reset that and go that year over year because that's the most common use case that we get. But that is there for you. We also have a ton more metrics. So we've moved the metrics. It used to be sort of right in the middle in my colored bar. Now it's here over on the side, and we have a bunch. We also grouped them by subject area. Before they were kind of loosely by subject area, but it wasn't really obvious. So we've put these little, dividers in there to say we're looking at sold metrics. And if you scroll down, then you can look at on-market metrics and then contracts. So we sort of grouped it by the areas that made sense. And we still have the same ones we had before. One of the changes is that we have now broken out square foot and acreage. It used to be one metric, and it would switch depending on which property type you chose. Now you can choose which metric you want, which also means it can apply to multiple property types. So if you have, a plot of land that happen to have a tiny little cabin on it, we can calculate the square foot and the acreage for you. You would just have to pick, it's in the land property type. So you pick that, but then you would pick dollar per square foot and you will see that. So we just broke that out for you. Let's talk about these next ones. We have of list price and from list price, and then the originals are the same too. So we'll just do the first ones. This is the one that you're used to seeing, right? The percentage of the list price received, it's always 90 something, point something. It doesn't vary too much. You're one of the higher ones. I think of all of our clients across the country, it might have hit about 108 up in the peak. But you're up there pretty high, but normally the number doesn't vary that much, right? It went from 98.9, 99.6, 90, 9.1. It sort of stays in here a little bit. But a lot of people don't like this metric because you have to stop and explain it to your clients, right? They don't understand that this is another way of saying you're getting less than 100% of what you're asking for. So I want to show you when I click on this next one below it, from list price received, watch the chart. The chart is not changing. It moved down a little bit because my axis over here changed, but the shape of the line there was exactly the same. That's because it's the same metric. All we've done is change that axis to change the terms that you use when you talk about it. So now rather than saying, you got 96.2% of your list price, you can talk about it in numbers that more people are familiar with, minus 1%, plus 1%, minus 1/10. You can say, wow, we're getting pretty close to full price here. You got 0.1% less. It's a personal preference. There's no right or wrong answer here, but we had people say, I really would rather do it this way. Can you change that? And rather than change it for everybody, we just put them both on there. So whatever one you prefer, you can use that. And that's available to you. Then we have the other ones there closed above list price. I always like to call out that this one in particular is just above list price. It's not going to be anything that closed at list price. It's specifically above. And you guys do have, I think, the highest one of all of our clients here. Yeah, it's 78.4%. That's insane. You guys know that's insane. But it's fun to look at, right? So you're still pretty high compared to what we're seeing in the markets. A lot of them are coming back down around normal, around 10 to 12% maybe. So you're pretty high up there, but it is just that closed above list price. So next we have, let's talk about days on market. So days on market is one of those that there are so many definitions out there, even within the standards, world and community. They have a ton of different definitions. Fidencio is nodding his head right now going, yeah, there's so many definitions. They can't make up their mind. So we gave you a bunch of them to choose from. Now, the definition itself comes from the field in the MLS. So when you log in and you see, this particular house has been days on market for 28 days, that's just what we pull out of the field. And that in Flex is from the list date to that contract date minus any time off market. So we're just pulling in that direct field. But how Flex reports it is this number right here. They report it in the closed month. Even though it's based on the contract date or the contract month, they wait to report it in the closed month. We don't like that. This is the first version that we've brought this number forward, honestly, because we got tired of answering the questions of why our numbers were different than the Flex numbers. So we said, great, let's put it in there so you can see that we actually can match if we want to, but we don't like this number. The one that we prefer is down here under the contract metrics, and it's days on market pending. And for some clients, we've renamed this to days to contract because that's kind of what it is. It's still that list date to contract date field minus time off, but we report it in the contract month because we know about it in the contract month. So why wouldn't we report it? It gives you a quicker view into the market. And if you notice right now, this is 25, the days on market reported in the closed month was 28. So I can see this and go, my market is speeding up. It is taking fewer days to get those contracts going. I just did a training class right before you guys where that was totally opposite, which is crazy. You don't see that very often, but their days on market in the closed month was like 45, and then their days on market in the pending month was like 67. So I was like, your market's slowing down, guys. That doesn't usually happen this early in the season, so keep an eye on that. We love sharing information as soon as we have it. So that's what this one is. So we really prefer this one. You may prefer the other one. Your client may prefer the other one. They both are telling you a story, and you can just decide which story makes more sense for what you're trying to say. And the definitions are right above whenever you're looking at a chart here. Whichever metric it is defined here. So you don't have to remember this. You can be like, oh, which one am I looking at again? That's right. We report it in the contract month. So let me go back up to my closed ones here. We also added days in escrow for you. It's not economic in any way, but you might get questions from your clients. Maybe you're working with a buyer and they're like, I don't know how long I should, be in escrow. When do you think I should close? So now you have information that you can say, well, most people are closing, about 3 weeks is pretty typical. So if you want to do that, great. If you want to go higher or lower, whatever you want. But this is just more information for you to have those discussions and help them along that path to buying their home. Then we get to one of my favorite ones, list to close date. And this is simply a calculation that we do from the list date to the closing date. So we don't care if there were, several contract dates in and it fell in and fell out or anything that happened. If time off market, doesn't matter. This is that list date to when the house finally sold, or as I like to call it, the when am I going to get my money metric. Because when your seller asks you how long it's going to take to sell their house, that's what they're really asking. They want to know when they're getting paid, which we all want to know, right? So now you can say, wow, it's, about a month and a half. That's what the time is running right now, which is way down from what it used to be. So that's pretty insane that it used to be 3 months and now we've got in half. It's crazy, crazy balls. But you have that information there for you as well. So we love that. Then we have mortgage payment. So this one, let me pop that open in there. There we go. So this is showing you your estimated mortgage payment. We know the closing sales price of all of the homes, and we know the mortgage rate. And how do I know the mortgage rate? Well, it's right here. Above here on the chart, it says show mortgage rate. I'm going to show it to you. We take this data from the St. Louis Fed. This is a new ad on this version. Every Thursday night, that data comes in. And we aggregate it up from a weekly number to a monthly number for you. And you can see exactly what happened to the rates and exactly how that's impacting the the mortgages, right? It's insane how closely those two follow. People like to get wrapped around talking about home affordability and, oh, what's the median, salary right now? And is that really meaning people can buy more for their homes? It's fine. It's an input, but it's really the mortgage rates that have the biggest impact. And this is showing it here very obviously. And you can put this on any one of the line charts that you're looking at, as long as it's a single line chart like this. And what do I mean by single line chart? Well, let's take a look. I'm looking right now at single families, and I'm going to open my filter panel. I still have a toggle switch here, just like in the other version, to open my filter panel. But I can open that up and I can see we've been looking at single family. If I wanted to bring in condo townhouse as well, I can click on that. That's going to bring in my condo townhouse, and I didn't have any in here apparently. So let's just grab all of them. And oh, because I'm not on breakout. Look at that. I was going to have to tell you later to remember to do your breakout, and I forgot it myself. So I clicked on two property types, but right here above the chart, it says no breakout. I need to actually choose that. These buttons used to be below the chart on the other version, and there were only a couple of them. Now we have a bunch more choices that you can break your chart out by. But when I pick my property type, now it's going to switch, and now my mortgage rate went away, and it's showing me my breakouts on my property type. So I'm looking at my condo townhouse and my single family. So we just get rid of that because it just starts getting too messy on the charts when you have all sorts of solid lines and dash lines all over the place. So if you wanted to get that mortgage payment, for example, for the condos, then you go back, you get rid of that single family and hide that. And now that brought that back for me. Oh, but I'm still on a breakout. So I go to my no breakout and my mortgage rate button comes back and my mortgage rate comes back. So a lot of different ways to manipulate the data on here. Now let's go back to my charts here. We'll hide that mortgage rate so we can keep on trucking here. Concessions. This is a fun one. So as everybody knows, we had the settlement stuff last year related to commissions. Since then, concessions have become more important. And honestly, we had one of our clients, even before all the settlement, maybe 6 to 8 to 10 months before that, said, hey, I want to start tracking concessions. So we started playing with that data, and now this is a standard feature. So as long as it's being populated in the MLS, we're getting that data through, and you can see that almost 49%, almost half of the homes are closing with concessions now. And that's a huge change from what it used to be. So you can do that percentage. You can see the actual amount. We put it in here because we could, but what I think is more interesting than an actual amount is that discount rate, right? You can see how many homes were closing with the percentage, and the discount rate seems to be right around 3%. So it's definitely gone up. So if people are trying to figure out what kinds of concessions do I need to make for my home, you can come here and say, well, this is what our average is. It used to be lower. Now it's going up a little bit higher. Is that related to the, settlement? Who knows? But it's more information that we had that we can bring forward to you. So this is an ad on this version as well. So lots of good stuff there. We also added median living area. This is really interesting in a lot of markets because you want to see our homes that are selling now bigger or smaller, and that varied. We go back and pick on single family again because there's more of those. That one was varying, right? And you can see over time, it went down a little bit after the pandemic. It went up for a while and then it went down, and now it's kind of coming back up. Kind of interesting. So lots of fun stuff here we can do with these metrics. Median price, that was there, distressed. Another one that we added, we've got our inventory and our supply of inventory. We used to call this month supply of inventory, but we do it for you on a weekly basis as well now. So that's why we changed the name just to supply, but it is the month supply when you're looking at months. And then if I go down here, I still have those same time periods that we added on the other dashboards is here as well. So now I have a weekly supply of inventory. So that's why we call it just supply. So don't worry, we didn't get rid of month supply. We just renamed it a little bit. But we also added right under here for you absorption rate. Now, this is one of those that's similar to what I showed you with the percent of list received, that we had that other one that was just a different way that people like to talk about it. Absorption rate and the supply of inventory are kind of two sides of the same coin, but some people have strong preferences and they really want absorption rate. So we added it for a client last year and said, you know what, we should just add it for everybody. So now you have the option. If you prefer to talk about absorption rate rather than supply of inventory, you can, because that's on here as well. And we put the definition up there above, but if you want a more detailed explanation on the differences, right here I've got my little question mark. That still goes out to our support site. I have to double click, follow my own instructions there. And you can type in and say months absorption rate versus month supply of inventory. And now you get your little explanation of mathematically what the difference is. So it really is a personal preference there, but now you have the option of making that choice for yourself. We like to say stats isn't really a choose your own adventure because we have people that will debate us about median versus average. And we're like, no, there's a right or a wrong answer with median and average. In this case, there's not a right or a wrong answer. So we let you choose what you want, whichever one you're more comfortable with. Again, whatever helps you communicate better to your clients, because your clients are going to have different level of what they understand and are comfortable with. Whatever helps you communicate with them, use that one. But they're essentially telling the same kind of story. And then we added a pending inventory metric. So this is going to be your inventory over time that is in pending status, right? And there's a ton here because back a while ago, I added all of my values there. Let me refresh and that should set back. There we go. Now I'm at my 8 there. There was a little refresh button. If I don't want to refresh the entire dashboard in my browser, you can just refresh the areas to get back to that default. So now I'm looking at that pending inventory for those cities. Sometimes people have said to us, hey, we really consider things that are pending like kind of part of active. They kind of are, but they kind of aren't. And there's some clients who show me everything, even if it's pending. I don't care. I want to, put in an offer as well because, you're required to give all those offers. You never know, right? Stranger things have happened. So now you have your pending inventory here to see. And then you still have your unsold listing. So ton of metrics here, a bunch that we added for this version. And let's go back and pick on, I like using closed sales to show my other charts here because counting is a little bit easier to understand things than medians. So we've been looking at time series and clicking on that one. Now you have a price distribution chart. You had this on the other version as well. It was 2 buttons up at the top. We still have it on here. So you can see what's been going on in the closed sales. If you didn't know it before, you can also dig into any of these charts we've been looking at because this is a member dashboard. If I double click on this bar here, I can see which listings went into these closed sales from 500 to 749, and that's going to give me that list. Now, this isn't in the MLS itself. This is our copy of the data, but you can see it does include those various data shares based on the listing IDs. I get V1s, OCs, GDs, they're all in there. And you can export this if you want. So you don't have to trust that we have given you the right information. You can look into it yourself and see. And if there's something in there that needs correcting, either by us or the MLS, you can find that out for yourself. So you have that ability. You could also do that same trick clicking on the metric here at the top and it would download the entire 193 for you. And let's talk about, while we're here, these 3 little buttons that are on the chart here. And these were on the line chart as well. The first one is a download button. Now this would download this chart itself for you. So in case you're doing like a pitch prezo and you want to download several charts to include in that, you can just click download, then leave that there in your downloads folder and go back and do some more analysis. Download as many charts as you want, and then go grab those later and throw those in your presentation. So that's a quick way to do that for you. The next one is going to be a copy button. This will just copy this chart. So if you're doing an email that you quickly want to throw a chart in to explain something to your client, just copy it and then go over, paste it in your email and you're ready to go. Or maybe you want to paste it into your social media. Because while you can't share this dashboard with clients, you can share printed outputs from this chart. Excuse me. And send that to them and be like, hey, here's the analysis I did for you. And this is what I found in your price bucket. So that copy button is there. And then the last button is for the super data nerds in the room. So this is the data download. Now, I showed you the ability to get to the individual listings in any of these buckets, but this data download will download the aggregated results themselves. So it will download a spreadsheet, and in this case, it'll be grouped by the different price buckets, and it'll say 500 to 749, 16 listings. And this one will say, 750 to 999, 66 listings. And if I was doing this on my line chart that we were just going over, it would have each month and the number of closed sales for each one of those months. So this is the aggregated results that is being downloaded for you. So that's a new feature on here as well. That one's pretty fun. Now, this one still, let's see, I only have my single family here. Let me click back there and add my townhomes because I want to show you this one just like on the other version. You can still break out by your various filters. So I'm looking at my price distribution and I had two property types selected and I clicked to break it out by property type. So this is now showing me my property types. And you can go and click any of these down below. I think we previously only had property type and city. Maybe zip was on there for you. I don't recall, but everything below that is all new. So I can say, hey, show me my price distribution by square foot range, for example. And now I can see, well, these are all the square foot ranges of the houses by the price distribution. So tons more ways that you can analyze the data here. In fact, we added a whole new chart. So right under my price distribution column chart is a comparison chart. So I'm on square foot range. So that's going to get rid of my price because I bopped that out. And now it's just showing me the square foot range comparison. So I can see most of my homes sold in that 1,500 to 2,000 square foot range, which is really funny because the training class I was just on had this exact same one right here in the top. So seems to be not regional at all, pretty common in fact. And the way that this chart lays things out is based on highest values to lowest values. So you can see it makes a nice clean line there. So your homes over 5,000 square feet, there were the fewest of those, shouldn't be a surprise. But this will do this for any of these that I choose. So if I go and choose my cities, for example, it's not going to alphabetize it down here. It's putting it, Simi Valley is the one that sold the most homes within the 8 that we're looking at. So that's how this one is done. So don't get confused and go, oh no, the weird one is bedrooms. People go, oh no, they don't know how to order things correctly. Why is it 4325? Oh my goodness, the stats people don't know how to count. That's so sad. No, we do know how to count. We just ordered it by highest to lowest. So that's what that one is. Now, if you were to go to this chart and you didn't have a breakout on here, it's beautiful. I have to show it to you. I know you love it. It's going to be the best chart in your prezo. So just remember when you get here, you need a breakout to actually make it valuable. And we also have this tiny little information button over here. If you're used to seeing 3 icons, you might go, there's a 4th. And then it'll go, oh, choose a breakout. Yeah, I forgot. And I literally forgot to do that in the last class that I was in. So that one is that chart. So that's a brand new chart for you. So that's pretty exciting. Excuse me. So let's go back to my filters here for you. So we've got your cities and your zip code. We also have subdivision on here, and these are linked in case you didn't know that. So I'm only seeing the zip codes that are in the 8 cities here that we defaulted to, but the zip codes that are in them in your data. So if you are looking at this, and let me just scroll down and I want to show you where this kind of has a breaking point here. There we go. So when you're looking at this, there are ones that are darker and then the ones that are grayed out. The grayed out ones mean they do not exist within the selections we have over here. So that's why they're grayed out, so you can ignore those. But anything that's above here, these are all in your listing data. So if you're looking at it and you're going, wow, 95065, that doesn't belong in any of the cities that I'm looking at. Well, it is in it in at least one of your listings in the MLS. So that's what we are showing back to you. And if that were to get, updated and corrected, then we would get that update the next night and it would change. But those are linked that way. And the subdivisions are also linked to this data here. So you will only see subdivisions that are related to these selections. We've also got your new construction, and if it's land, it gets its own category because it's obviously not construction. Waterfront, yes and no is on here, and also your buyer financing, which is only going to apply to closed listings. So a few more filters here that we added for you. And then we've got our slider filters on the bottom. And I just like to always call out that this is not a limit here on the top. You can see I've got the little plus signs. That's a little visual cue to let you know that there are more listings and values beyond here. And if you want to see them, all you need to do is grab your handle and drag it all the way over. And now you are telling the system, I want to see all the closed sales that were over 5 million in this case. And I can see, well, there were 0 in March, but there were 3 of last March. So this is because systematically we had to have a number on there. You can't just leave it open-ended. So it's not a limit, it's just a label. So don't get worried about, oh no, I need to analyze higher than 4,000 square feet. You can, it's just up at the top. Now, you should be able, when you're done, to just drag your bar across and move it where you need to. But if for some reason your browser isn't playing nicely, you can just click anywhere on the line and it'll drag that handle back for you, and then you can grab it and move it. And it moves in any areas you want, top all the way to the bottom, or anywhere in between. So you have that ability. And your year built is the only one that has a value that you can have down at the bottom end. So if you're looking at homes built before 1950, those will be down there as well for you. So lots of ways to look at this. And then we will close this out and let's head back over. Here we go to our pricing insights, because we had a few little updates on this dashboard. Now, if you haven't used this dashboard before, this one is a little bit different. It's not aggregated stats, and it's going to make you make some choices before you get any answers on here. So let's just pick on single family, and I'm going to go down and grab See Me. Where did you go, See Me? There we are. And now this is going to show me, and let me bump this down so we don't see a little better. There we go. This is showing me active, closed, and pending listings. I could add other statuses if I want for the last month to date. So this is from March 1st to last night. I'll get this filter out of the way here. And now we can see a whole bunch of little dots here, little squares, triangles, whatever you want to call them. Every single one of these is a listing. So we didn't aggregate it. We put all of them on there. And when you click on this, it's going to show you what listing it is down below. Oh, look at that. I picked Unique Lane. Gosh, I'd love to live on Unique Lane. That's such a nice street. But you can see information about what those listings are. And it's colored by status. So I can click over and see a closed status here on Long Branch. And I can see there's a lighter blue color. That's my pending. So you can bop around and see all the different homes. And you can also see that I have 2 lines on this page. And I've got my horizontal line, which is set at the median closed price per square foot. And then my vertical line is set at my median closed price. And where these intersect, this should be the middle of this market. So any one of these dots that I click on around here should kind of feel like a typical home in Simi Valley for single family. And now this chart breaks it up into 4 quadrants. So down here at the bottom, I've got my low priced value listings. This is lower than that median home price and lower than the median dollar per square foot. So maybe this is going to be an older house. Maybe it's a house that needs some work. Maybe it's smaller. It tends to be a great place for first-time home buyers, or for, investors looking to put some money into it and flip it, or, somebody who just wants to be able to spend money and make it exactly what they want. Maybe start with something kind of basic. That's what this bucket is. Then I move up to my low price luxury listings, is what we call these, because they are lower than the median price, but they are higher than the median dollar per square foot. So that's what we call luxury. If you're higher than the median dollar per square foot, you're luxurious. Maybe you have granite countertops or heated flooring, or you just got your landscaping redone because, wow, landscaping is more expensive than it used to be. But whatever the case, these are your luxury listings because of that dollar per square foot. So then we go to our bottom quadrant here. This is our high priced value listings. these are higher than the median close price, but lower than that median dollar per square foot. So maybe these are bigger homes that tend to sell for a lower dollar per square foot. Maybe they're new homes where somebody didn't do any of the upgrades, so it was just basic. But that's what those homes are around in this bucket. And then we've got our high price luxury listings. So everybody up here in this quadrant is higher than the median price and higher than the median dollar per square foot. So if I'm moving into my home here on Unique Lane, that better be move-in ready for me. I don't want to have to call, my contractor to get out here to fix a whole bunch of stuff or to redo my yard or whatever needs redoing. It better be ready. These are the higher price for a reason. So that's how this chart breaks it down. And then how you use it is you've got these buckets for proposed list price and proposed square foot. So this is the change from the other version if you're used to using it. We used to have those up at the top of the chart and they used to be pre-populated, but that was confusing for some people. So we blanked it all out. So now you put in your information first. So how you use this is you're going to go to the proposed list price box and you're going to say, hey, Mr. Seller here, I know you want to sell your house for 1.35 million. And there we got that one in. And your house that's about 1,830 square feet. That's what we measured there in the listing. And now my blue lines popped out. So those blue lines, right where they intersect, is where the dot for this house would be located compared to the rest of the market. Because that's how the buyers look at the market, right? They look at it compared to everything else they're looking at. They can't buy something if it's not on the market, so they're just looking at what are my choices and how do they all compare to each other. So this is that visualization of that discussion. It's not a replacement for your AVM or your CMAs. It very much works in conjunction with it. In fact, this dashboard came out of a request from a broker in Boston who said, I'm having trouble pricing a home. It was a condo. There were 3 condos sold in like 6 months. And he was like, I have no idea what to do with this thing. So this dashboard came out of that. And now you can say, this is right where you would be, Mr. Seller. Let's go ahead and take a look at this closed listing that's near where you would be and talk about Langwood Lane for a minute. Because if your house is a lot nicer than Langwood Lane, then maybe we up that price a little bit. If Langwood Lane is the nicer one, then you're probably reaching a little bit. We need to have a realistic conversation. Because I can see by my gauges that this home would be in the 83rd percentile. So 83% of the houses are lower in price, right? In dollar per square foot, this home is higher than 95% of the other ones on this page. So this is where you can use the data to have those very real conversations with your sellers and even with your buyers. You can bring this out for all of the homes you're showing them and make sure that it's in line with what they think. Because if you've got a buyer who really wants to be down in this bottom quadrant because they want to do a ton of work on it, then, they might not want to waste their time up in the top. There's a lot less room for appreciation if they're up here in the top versus going down in the bottom quadrant. So this is a great one to bring to those open houses and use to have those conversations. We see this one a lot on one side, and then the market review will be on the other side of the paper. And that's what the agents here are passing out when they do open houses. Because when your people are coming through, they want to see the house. They don't need a 30-page high color gloss booklet of every stat possible for that neighborhood. They don't need that until they are interested in the house and they want to, actually go down that path and buy it. So just give them the information that they need, that little snippet, and then they'll come to you when they have more questions. So we really love this dashboard for both the buy and the sell side for that reason, which gets us back to one thing you may not have noticed. I called it out a little bit, but that missing dashboard that was on here before on the other version, that was your weekly insights. So we don't need that anymore because now you have that in here with the rest of the drop-down choices for timing. Now, the one thing I'd like to call out, previously on the weekly insights dashboard, it had a lot less filters. It really just had the property type and the city and the price range, as I recall. And now you have the ability to use all of the filters, which is a plus and a minus, Because if you start getting down too narrow on your stats, then the stats become a lot less meaningful. So all I like to say is when you are using weekly, make sure you don't narrow down too much because then you're going to lose your data. We always like for stats to use more data for your comparisons rather than less, because that'll give you more valuable information, right? The median price of 3 listings is the one in the middle. It has nothing to do with economics or even math. It's just the one in the middle. So keep that in mind when you are using weekly, but we hope that by bringing it in here, it gives you more flexibility and honestly gives you one less place to have to go and click and find the dashboard because you're already right in here. So that is great. There is one more thing I will mention because I don't recall if you guys have it or not. And if not, Fidencio can bug me and we can set that up. But within Flex, there is an integration from the listing detail page. And it's going to be a little, let's see, I'm looking to see if I've got my little icon anywhere here. It's the Domus icon. Oh, if you can see on the top, my little icons on the tabs with the little houses, that's what it looks like on Flex. And it's above with all your little other chiclet icon type things. When you are on a listing detail page and you click that, it will open up the market review dashboard for you, pre-populated with the details for that listing. So it'll have the property type and whatever city it's in, and it does just pick monthly for you. But you are one click away from that dashboard from within Flex. So if that's not there now, Flex is really actually on top of things right now with getting that integration listed quickly. So Fidencio, let me know. And if it is there, then you can go play with it right now. So really, really quick and easy way for you to get that information without having to leave the MLS. And with that, I will open it up for any additional questions. I'm grabbing the chat box over here. Ed had to step away for half a moment, so I just want to see if any other questions. It is there. Awesome. Cool. So yeah, that's an integration. Flex has been doing that for us for a while, so that's super exciting. Let me see. There is another question. Someone asked, when you put in the estimate, that's all right. Let's go back to pricing insights. When I put in the estimate size and sales price for the seller, does it show the price per square foot? So when I put in the price here, the 1.3, and then my square footage down here, the median dollar per square foot, you wanted to know what that square footage would be of that house. Yes. So right here at the top on the bar is the median for the chart, which is the black lines here. So this black line here is at 895 and the median dollar per square foot is at 510. For this proposed listing, my price was 1.35 and the dollar per square foot is actually 738. So it shows it right there below the gauge. So that was that question there. Let's see. So next question. Okay, yes, you got that question. Awesome. Any other questions you guys have? I hope you saw some things that you are really excited about in this new version. If you're brand new to Domus, then welcome. We're super excited to be working with you guys. You're one of our few deployments in California because, the state provides a lot and, there's just a lot of stats out there, but we've been working with you guys for a few years. So we were really excited to be able to bring this new version to you. We're still rolling it out to people. I think there's only about, there's still less than 10 people, 10 groups in our client roster across the country that have this new version. A lot of them are on 5 and very few on 5.1. So you have the newest, latest, greatest. We're really excited to have you here today. So, oh, you're welcome. I'm glad you like it, Susie. As you are using this, if you find other things that you'd love to see, again, as always, get that information back to your team there at the MLS and they can work with us. A lot of what you saw in this update, especially on Market Insights, came out of those agent requests, right? That little mortgage rate has been super popular since we put it out there because it really tells great stories. And that's what we want you to be able to do is use the stats to tell those stories, right? You don't have to be the bearer of bad news. You can let the numbers say it for you or, bear of good news in cases where the market is speeding up. That's really exciting to see that your list to close days is going down. Like I said, I don't see those low numbers like that in many markets. So really cool. But with that, yes, definitely go play with the filters, explore. Again, you can't break anything. If it looks weird, you just refresh that browser and it starts over for you. And that's all we have. So, whew,
Hey,
take a
Amy.
big breath. You're nearly into a busy selling season this summer. And yes, Fidencio, I see you. You're raising a hand or waving to me. I'm not sure, but
Yes.
I'll
No,
be
no, no. I'm
quiet.
raising my hands. I'm going to give you 2 seconds to catch your breath. Awesome, awesome information as always. You guys are absolutely brilliant. I know a lot of our members like the tools. In fact, it's one of our top MLS tools. If you guys have not been using it, please jump on it. I do have one question that I always get, and maybe you can give us some resources or guide us to where we can find that. I always get the question, well, what does it mean? And well, I'm not a statistics professor here, so you're gonna have to find out for yourself. I wouldn't want you to put the information in front of the client if you don't know what it means. So if someone wanted to do a deep dive on any of these metrics, how do you have any resources that we can point them to so that they can be better informed and take that education and then apply it to what they're actually seeing? Because that's one of the questions I do get often is, well, what does it mean?
This is a great, great question. So one of the things I will point you towards is that on our support site, we do have several use cases. I think I actually called them use cases. Let's see here real quick. Use cases, which dashboard, which browsers, um, hierarchy. So I didn't call them use cases, but I do have some use cases on here that really talk about like, hey, I'm working with a first-time home buyer. What kind of stats can I help to show them and what story does that tell? So I would say poke around that support site. You can get to it with that question mark that's on the two member dashboards, which is the market insights and pricing. And you can also get to it from my Hootie the Owl down here. Poke around, read through some of these things. It explains a lot of things there, and you can see what's going on. We also, and I will tell you because I'd love to get your feedback, Fidencio. We are considering doing a Domus user conference. I know there's, so many conferences,
Oh,
right? But
yeah.
it really would be focused on less of training like we did today and
Hmm.
more of statistical knowledge, but not like you have to go take a whole stats class, but how do you read the stats and look at it? We get a lot, I'll pick on market review where people are
Yes.
like, how can I talk about these together? And I look at things and I go, well, your closed sales are going up because they usually go up this time of year. That's not too surprising. But
Hmm.
median price is going down. And by March, we sort of see it flattening out a little bit. So what does that mean? Well, it's probably going down because your inventory is so high. So the more inventory you have, the less pressure there is on price. So we talk
Hmm.
about things like that when we do some in-depth trainings and we're looking at maybe doing like yes on the Domus conference. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, we're talking about, what could we put together? What would people like? And personally, I would love to do it on a cruise ship because I love cruising. So, yeah, we're starting to bat around some ideas and seeing what we can do and that could be something that if it comes gets a really good response then we might bring it on the road or bring it out to you, but I would say definitely for now just hit up some of that information there on a support site and yeah, start from
Yeah.
there.
That's awesome. I would love that. I know the members would love that because they're trying to tell the story. And while you understand the numbers and Ed definitely understands the numbers, I get it. However, when they're in front of that seller or where they're in front of that buyer and they need to communicate this information and put it into their terms, I get that question a lot. What does it actually mean? And what does it mean for them? So that would be amazing. We're on board. Let us know. Send us the invite. We'll be there.
And easy for you too, right? Because we could do one right out of LA.
Yes, absolutely. Let's go to where's the first trip?
I think to Cabo.
Let's go. All right. Well, guys, if there are any other questions, let us have them. We got Amy and Ed for about 5 more minutes, but they are very, very busy people. They they do this for a lot of people. And by the way, we really worked hard to get you guys this information in this dashboard. They put in so much work into this. It looks beautiful. It looks refined. It looks modern. We really like it. I know I do. So please play with it. Continue to use it because the more you guys use the product, the longer it stays. Unfortunately, while we do bring the products in, I also have to ask them if you guys are not using them. And now we're finally getting some metrics on exactly what you guys click on. So use them. Show me that you like them. All right. Any other questions?
Fidencio, I'll also mention that we've been developing some new infographic templates. So
Mhm.
I can send you over a link if you guys want to play around and maybe pick a new look for the
Yes.
year or for the version or whatever. We have some more
Yes.
options.
I'd love that. Do send it over. That would be excellent.
Right.
All right. All right. Well, I don't see any. Is there, are there any AI voice ability to filter choices? Manisha, I'm not sure I understand your question. Amy, do you?
Yeah, so I think you're kind of asking, and I'm gonna get the vendor name wrong, so I'm not even gonna say it. I know there's a vendor that you can use AI to enter your listing data. I think the question sounds like, can you use AI to make it use the filters for you? I have no idea. I've never tried, so I don't know if any of those would plug in and do this. It'd be
Mhm,
interesting to see.
Yeah,
Okay.
Let
getting
me
the
know if you
voice,
find some.
if you can hear me, what
Yep.
I'm
Yes.
asking is the voice capability with AI integration, where I can say, okay, show me all the results for Agora Hills or Simi for single family homes, and I don't have to click through each and every button. Is that something in future roadmap?
It's not on our roadmap at all. No. And so in terms of AI itself, because we get a lot of questions like, well, why can't I just point AI to the MLS? We actually had a little like chatbot that we were starting to use where you were still typing in and saying, hey, point over here, give me some answers. And I'll be darned if the thing couldn't give me one right answer to save its life. Because there just is so much complexity on the back end and how the filters all work together that a lot of AI is about asking exactly the right question in the right way. And even when you have that, it's going to give you kind of close to maybe something, but not exactly. So we don't have it on the roadmap right now because we just don't think it's there at all. But if you find an external tool that points in, I know there's several that are coming out in the industry to try to plug into things like this, but we just don't have one that works at this point in time.
Thank you.
Great question. Great question. All right. Do we have any last questions before we unfortunately have to let you all go? If we could keep you forever, we would. You guys are awesome. All right. I don't see any last questions.
It's Theo. I have a quick one. This is Barbara.
Hi, Barbara.
Hi. Hey, real quick, I was just going to say on that detail page, that is really cool that you
Yes.
can click on the Domus icon and see the market insight right away. Is there any way that in a future version you could save that slide, right?
Like a straight up download to PDF immediately.
Yeah, exactly. So that when, you have that to show with your client. Yeah, when they want to write an offer or whatever, instead of having to go back and do it all manually again. It's great to be able to see it, but it'd be great to be able to
Mhm.
save it.
Yes. I do think that that website that it does directly link to, you can immediately click that PDF button at the bottom, but maybe in the future, that could be like a one click, it opens it up and it can save it. Maybe, if it depends if
Well,
there's
there's no way to click the PDF when you go from the detail page.
really, okay, I'll have
Yeah,
to take a
I
peek
mean,
at that.
PDF would be great, but yeah, not on my end, but maybe I'm missing it. I'll play around with it.
Yeah, I
Got it.
don't I don't know that we could do that because they essentially the integration with Flex is that they pass the listing ID into us and then we connect it to all those things. I don't know how they
Oh,
would
what?
even
Real
do it.
quick, there is a print icon at the bottom right.
Yeah, at the
So
bottom there is.
yeah, that's cool.
So
That works.
so
That's
you have to
perfect.
go, yeah, you'd have to go there. So the integration would still put you here. And then if you click right on the print button,
Yep.
and then since it just opens your browser print function, if you previously saved a PDF, it would
Yeah.
default on that.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Perfect.
just change that. But yeah, I'm
That's
not sure we
great.
could do direct to PDF from Flex, but yeah, it's one click away once you get here with the little icon.
Oh, yeah, that's easy. That's great. Thank you.
All right. Well, it is 11 o'clock. I know you guys are super, super busy. Thank you again so much, guys. Thank you for joining us and being a part of this meeting. Amy, I will release you to the rest of your work. Thank you, and Ed, so much. I will see you guys later.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a great afternoon.